Oh, that's perfect timing, actually. Because I have a very good hat, too.
Oh, yes.
Welcome to Hacking Business Technology. Mark's here, Hooper's here, I'm here.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, everybody.
It's sort of redundant to list everyone off because you can see who's here faster than I can say it.
Actually, Google Hangouts doesn't show the video bar, right? It just shows the person on the recorded video.
I don't remember.
Yeah, I haven't watched this live in a while. No, I think it does. It shows the little thing down in the corner. I know it does on YouTube after the recording, but like when you watch Software Defined Talk with Cote, that you can see everyone else's responses down there.
Oh, and you know, I use YouTube Red now, so that allows you to minimize YouTube and still listen to it.
What do you think of it?
I mean, that's really all it is. It's just one of those features that they have and they withhold unless you pay, so.
Which Apple is doing now, too. Discovered that on my iPad Pro yesterday. I minimized the video and it kept playing while I was using another app.
Yeah. I mean, it's essential, and you need it once you start using it, but it's pretty sweet. I got it as part of Google Play Music subscription, which I switched over to recently, which is working out pretty good.
Yeah, what's the library like? Is it good? Do they have Led Zepp?
They have I mean, the libraries are almost all the same. There's a couple things that are here and there different, but I love that it integrates YouTube. So down below the artist, it'll show all the videos that are available, which is really nice.
Dude, your place looks so good. Why is there's art hanging above the window? That's gorgeous.
Isn't it gorgeous? Yes, my wife did that. She's an artist. I love having art around.
Yeah, so do I. It's usually expensive to get good stuff, so it's nice to know artists.
Yes, it is.
I can't, I feel guilty or kind of weird, I guess, about plotting off Photoshop stuff I've done. It's like, that's not really, it doesn't feel like homey.
Yeah. Well.
Put a shark's head on your daughter's body and post that up on the internet. plot it off and post it on the wall at home, too. So I have a huge announcement to make. I made the decision recently to leave Maryville.
Very surprising. They must be very disappointed.
Yes.
More congratulatory than disappointed. Well, I guess there's holes missing. You know what? It's funny. The emails that people send to announce departures, right? The HR stuff. Someone told me this once. That she worked in HR, and she said that the phrases that they use, you can actually determine whether who decided who was leaving, right?
Oh yes, yeah.
I've only worked at organizations where they've done that, and it was so nice the way that they handled it this time. Maryville's starting to take a trend towards doing much better at that. And my boss took the time to write a really good email about, thanking me for my service and talking about how transitions are going to work. He talked about that we've been working on defining the roles to manage this transition. Share the project of me getting out of there, really.
Wow.
How are they going to hire the 5 people it'll take to replace you? That's what I want to know.
Unfortunately, we've got it down to 2, unfortunately.
Oh, that's optimistic, but okay.
Really, it's around creative graphic design, and that is, oh man, there's so many people that are good at that now. It's incredible.
Yeah.
I mean, you guys know, Hoops used the crowdsourcing apps before. Those people, they're everywhere.
Well, it's interesting because it didn't seem, I may have it wrong, Baron, but it seemed to me that was kind of a secondary, almost accidental thing for you, but it became essential to what you offered. Would you agree with that?
Yes. It was very niche. And someone actually mentioned it to me one day. They said, we should do animations. It was someone that I worked with. His name is Rick Mayhall. I think he's 65, one of the smartest people at Maryville, and he just mentioned it to me, and I ran with it. I had the app within 5 minutes, and I was just trying to tweak the process, and I started building stuff. And what I did is I recorded a podcast actually with someone, and then I said, wow, this podcast is really good. if I cut it down to 2 minutes, people would actually listen to it. And so I cut it down to 2 minutes, and then I drew an animation that went along with those 2 minutes, and immediately it took off. It was the first time that I realized that building something before getting it approved and showing someone the results can often have much better impact than saying, hey, I think I could build this thing, and people can't imagine it.
Right.
Yeah.
You need to show them.
Mm-hmm.
So there's that end of things, and you can find illustrators and animators everywhere. What's cool is, now they can open that to someone who has a passion like that. It creates an opportunity, either for someone who already works at Maryville or someone that wants to work there. And then the other thing really is around digital marketing and marketing like operation stuff. And they had people for that already. I sort of actually saw the writing on the wall last year when we contracted a CMO, a chief marketing officer, to do a lot of the branding and strategy. And I decided that at that time, really, that guy's better at it. So that's really what I'm hoping that they leverage him. And now it's going to be fascinating for me to watch. I just can't wait to see where they take it, because we've already taken Maryville from 0 to 60. Getting to 100 and 120 and beyond, I just can't wait to watch it.
Isn't it funny that, there's such a demand for people who can tell stories, particularly in IT. And it really is, I wonder why it's just so hard for some IT people to tell the story.
Yeah, I think it's because they get into details. It's sort of the same problem that we've always had in infrastructure ops. We always took network gurus and made them managers, like that was part of their career path. And we've griped about that before on the podcast. I think the same thing applies across the board. We go from, there's no one doing sales and marketing in IT, and so we take someone from networking or server engineering or app dev or the service desk. Service desk is actually, I think, probably the most common, or manager, and say, look, marketing IT is now your responsibility. And I think there's an incredible opportunity for HDI to sort of think about that. That could be a tilt to the service desk.
Because they say the service desk is the face of IT, right? So if so, then that would make sense that the service desk manager should own a little bit of the IT marketing. But I've met very few, if any, really good service desk managers who are good at that.
Yeah, that's a point, is that it's not a core competency of people who have been focused on providing solutions, not providing ideas. And
now that I think about it, some of the best service managers or service desk managers that I knew, or service desk directors or whatever, they were just good at selling. Like it was innate in who they were. Like they weren't formally trained. They were just good at saying, like, look at this chart. This is the value we're providing, and your cost keeps going this way. And that's, I mean, even just telling someone something like that would be huge. Or even like, teaching them the basics. I'm doing an awesome program right now on Coursera. It's an MBA in marketing. And if you pay $800, you get a certificate, whatever that means. I don't really care about that. I want the skills. And they talk about, and I think I've got it written up there actually, segmentation and targeting. And like the service desk in IT needs to realize that they're doing that. You need to segment the market, because what you are participating in is a transaction, a market of IT services. And if you can't sell it, then no customer.
And kudos, actually, because I just went to an HCI conference, local chapter conference.
Yesterday, right, at Tampa?
Tuesday in Tampa, yeah. And they were giving away the Analyst of the Year awards and all that kind of stuff. And then afterwards, they did have their guest speaker was a woman who did coaching. She did speaking coaching, and she was really good. She was talking about word whiskers and pausing and presentation and how to deal with conflict. It was all really, really great information. In fact, she asked, is anybody giving a presentation? And I had to be giving a presentation on Wednesday. So I raised my hand, and she had me come up and give my elevator pitch, and she critiqued it, and she refined it. It was really good. I ended up giving the exact one that she helped me give. But I overheard her say to the guy who brought her in after the the luncheon was finished, "Are these people always this serious?" And I think that's a little bit of the nature of the help desk folks, right? Because they're just getting so beat up all the time. And they're not obviously to be generalizing everybody. They're really great, dynamic. Kay Robertson, for instance, is just a super person and very dynamic. She runs the client services over at Tico Energy, but but she's a rare breed, I think.
Yeah, it's hard to find optimism. It's hard to find energy, and people, when they see it, they just glom onto it. Like, you can't stay away from it because it's so inviting, and you're wondering what makes them tick to be so optimistic and happy to help still, like after all these years.
Yeah, it's one of those things that I look back on my years as a consultant, and I think of the passion you have for helping people just really can drive you. You miss it when you're not in that situation.
Well, it's interesting that it's so natural for us to say after all these years when referring to the service desk. Why is that? I mean, we don't say that about innovative startup companies. We would never say after all these years, right? There's something to say there. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you get wiser as you get older, and I've been away from the service desk for a while. Like, I haven't worked on a service desk in a while, but things continue to change in that space.
Sure, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, I mean, there is this kind of impression that they're there for life, and they're just kind of doing the same thing over and over. And how do you stay energetic when that's the case? I don't know.
If you want to work in the service desk industry, or in any service industry really, where you're interacting with people on the phone, I strongly suggest you go to an HDI meeting just to meet the people, just to see what gets them through and what gets them working, and to learn, because you can see at those meetings very quickly which companies do really well.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like, you can tell. Medtronic is one in our area that is just, they're incredible. When they get together, oftentimes they will group together, which is unfortunate for the networking opportunities. But you bust into that circle, you get in there. But they're always grouped together, and they're always very positive. The last time I was there, the manager of the graveyard shift was working while we were at the meeting. Insane.
Mm-hmm.
And if you pay attention to that, your job quality is just that much better. Which is why one of the reasons that when I announced my departure from Maryville, I'm not really deciding what to do next. I think that sort of the practical wisdom I have gained is that going from employer to employer to employer to employer, you never take a break and realize what needs to change for you necessarily. You're always changing for a company as opposed to stepping back and realizing what you've been doing.
Yeah.
Taking a break's a good idea.
It's really interesting. Go ahead, Hooper.
No, I was just going to say, I think that's one of the reasons why I kind of got out of corporate IT, is I was struggling to find a company who saw the value of IT. I felt like I was always justifying it. Then, there are now, I recognize there are just certain industries where they just do, and there are some that just don't. And I don't know that they ever will, right?
Yeah.
But you have to feel value for your effort, because it really is, a lot of pressure. Maintaining the skills is really difficult. IT folks just really have a upward hill to climb. It can be exceptionally rewarding, and it really can be fun and challenging, but you have to find someone who values your efforts to keep up pace.
Yeah.
Culture.
We've talked about that a lot in the past, how IT can, when we focus on the partnership with the business, we're also talking about the value being extended to IT, where a lot of times IT is cut off from experiencing that value in the same way that the business does. So if your company's doing great things, you're one step removed if you're in IT to begin with, let alone if you're on the front line of sales or marketing or something that really sees that happening. But
yeah, the places where it's easiest, in my experience, or from my perspective anyway, is where it's transparent. You don't even realize that it's happening. You don't realize that now when you sign into Google Docs, you're actually using your work Gmail instead of your personal Gmail. That sort of seamless transition. Man, people want it. It's too much money. Can't have it. But getting that stuff out of the way allows you to focus on innovating and delivering on the business. Stop grinding your wheels figuring out hosted email. That is your biggest challenge. Hosted email. Fix that decades ago.
Switching to Office 365 is what got you all wrapped up with your projects.
I can't believe more people don't do it. I can't believe there are so many Exchange servers still out there. And I think we will look back at what we have built in a lot of cases, these huge ITSM implementations, and we will say, why did we make it so big? Yeah. Why did we make it monolithic? Why didn't we take the best of that and the best of that and the best of that and tie them together? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's a philosophical thing. Yeah, it's shifting.
And the thing I think, Baron, though, too, is it really comes down to some of the direction from companies in their recognition for how vital IT is. So for me, like financial services, it's tough. It's very political in a financial services IT organization, whether it's insurance, a brokerage organization, retail banking. They're all very political. It is really difficult. A lot of posturing, lots of politics. But from the business perspective, they know they can't live. They can't survive. They have recognized they are a technology company that is doing financial services, right? But then you look on the other hand, like at healthcare companies, most hospitals, they're pretty easygoing. The IT people I speak to find it, to be it could be a political culture, but it's still fairly low pressure. It's not the same level of SLAs or demand that they have. But the hospital does not recognize that it's a technology company providing healthcare services.
Never.
There's a lack of recognition, and they're constantly being pushed off to the side when there's so much that the organization could be doing. And not all hospitals. Some hospitals are very innovative. Orlando Hospital's one, Shands Healthcare here in Florida, exceptionally innovative. But it's the exception, not the norm.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
And financial companies have for a long time, that posture is about control, and it's about we are safer when we have all of the control, and that in itself is a philosophy that I think is shifting slower in finance than anywhere else. But
what do you think about the culture change between Emory and the healthcare side and the university side?
Yeah, I mean that's night and day. It's one of our biggest challenges because we have basically two huge corporations that try to work together, and they have different goals. The university side does not understand really critical care and systems that are make the difference between life and death sometimes, and so it's a challenge, and it doesn't always cross over well. But yeah, so I mean, I think the healthcare side is very innovative at Emory, and that's great to see. But yeah, just the goals are different, the vision's different.
Yeah. You can see how there would be value in actually separating them as two separate entities.
Yeah.
They could focus on the goals.
But practically, you have people that are, on the research side especially, that are right in the middle. They may do research, teach a class, and be, on staff as a doctor at the same time. So it's a challenge because then you need everything to work seamlessly between the two.
That's so cool.
Yeah.
What an incredible way to learn.
Yeah.
But that even drives the need to be digital and remove those physical constraints even more, right?
Yeah.
It would help. It would help. It's not critical, but it would help.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty close to critical.
Well, it's critical for survival, but no one said that survival was mandatory.
Well, and you know what's interesting is sometimes what we've found is that cloud solutions actually bring us together.
Yeah.
You may have something that healthcare really wants and something that university really wants, and neither of them can agree, and then you both look at, like, I don't know, Box, and you're like, hey, why don't we both go for that out there? And everybody's like, okay.
Interesting.
Yeah, that's the stuff that needs to be transparent.
Yeah.
You know, it's just part of operating.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Back to what we were talking about, though, I think to me, one of the most interesting things to talk to people about is what drives them in their satisfaction for their work. And I mean, value is something that I think I try to talk to a lot of people at Emory to see how plugged in they are to the value that Emory provides in terms of personal satisfaction. And some people, even when it's offered, don't really grab it. You know?
Oh, yeah. It's being pushed to them.
Yeah.
And they still don't read it.
Right. And what drives them forward or keeps them going is something different. You know,
Welcome to capitalism.
It may be just comfort or routine or whatever it may be, but
paycheck.
It got me thinking, Mark. I read this article about Micron Technologies. It's a semiconductor company, and they're a $16 billion company. They just recently hired their first CIO.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah. So you can get to be a $16 billion company without a chief information officer.
Sure.
In essence, without a comprehensive, centralized, enterprise-level digital strategy. And I wonder how the organization will change.
Yeah.
And if in some ways not for the better.
Yeah. Yeah, you're carving this new slice.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You're trying to wedge another slice into the apple. No, it's a full apple. We don't need it.
Yeah. I mean, obviously they had IT, right? You can't be a $16 billion company and not have IT, but you have IT departments.
I'd love to see where they had R&D sitting for something like that. You know, I talked to a friend of mine who works for Bank of America, and he talks endlessly about how all they are is a technology company. That's it.
Absolutely.
That is it. They look at data and then they sell products to that data, like over and over and over.
Yeah.
And if they didn't have that information, he talks about how quickly they would fail.
Yeah.
It's funny. I did a divestiture with B of A one time, and they had their security policy that we were trying to get our arms around to understand how we would integrate these things, but their security policy itself was too secure to share with us. It was the most ironic thing.
Because they're huge, you know? And with being that size, you see those problems, those bureaucratic issues that come along with delivering IT and making things that should be transparent, because it doesn't scale well. But believe you me, there are people who can get you there. You just need to spend the money. And it sounds like a sales pitch or whatever, but really survival is not mandatory. Spend the money. You have to focus on technology to innovate in every industry.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, absolutely.
Raise the money, hack the business technology. We'll see you next week.
Bye, everybody.